Hi there, Tug here from The Fishes and I. Hope you're safe and well, and welcome to the channel. Today I'm going to talk about power supplies and also why I chose the GigRig Power Supply. So a quick run through how the GigRig supply works. You've got your generator and the distributor. Now that's where your mains plug comes into there. And then sources the power to the distributor. Now those two bits, that's got enough current source to power sort of 5,000 milliamps worth, which is massive really. Now each either adapter or isolators, whatever combination you need, each one will take up one of those outputs on the distributor. So having 6, you've got the potential to have, say, 6 isolators. Now on the isolators, they've got 4 outputs running. Each output sources 135 milliamps at 9 volts. So say if all your pedals were 9 volts and under 135 milliamps, you've got the potential of running like 24 pedals, which is amazing really. So that and 6 of those, you could power 24 pedals, which is incredible. I don't know of another power supply that could do that, to be honest. So as I say, you need to know what voltage your pedals take, what milliamps that they need to power them, and that will then ascertain as to what adapters or isolators you need. So how I've used it is I needed power to sort of 13 pedals, 2 of which needed higher milliamp power, so the Nemesis delay and the Quartermaster. The Quartermaster's 300 milliamps, I believe. The Nemesis is 200 and something. So obviously I couldn't run that off one of the isolator outputs. So that's where the Time Lords, I believe they can power up to 550 milliamps. So you say your Strymon pedals, things like that, it'll source power to those easily. So I had the 2 Time Lords there and there. Now the rest of the pedals I could power off of the isolator because they all run at 9 volts. So I run all my pedals at 9 volts. So the isolators then power all the rest of what's on the board. So with the 3 isolators I used, obviously that takes up then, so 2 for the Time Lords, and then 3 for the isolators. And now as I went through on the rig rundown, or the pedalboard rundown last week, I've got the extra Time Lord there. So that takes up the 6th position. As I say, if I need it to run like the Digitech whammy pedal, or another pedal I want to sort of demo or run through, then I've got the higher milliamp source there. Also, as I went through on the pedalboard rundown, on the isolator, if you're good at maths, you'll have worked out that I had 1 spare, and that's the one there should I again want to demo another pedal and run it in conjunction with any of these. So that's pretty much how I have it set up. Now why it works so well for me is footprint size of things. So if you can imagine, I'll try and get my hands in shot now. I've used like the Pedal Power 2 Plus. Now that's quite big. That's about that sort of size on what would fit on the board there. So straight away that's quite cramped for space. Now obviously say a Pedal Power 2, for example, I'm just using that as an example, but that has 8 outputs. 2 of which I believe are over sort of 250 milliamps. So I would sort of struggle to power the Quartermaster. I would struggle to power, say, the Digitech whammy with that particular one. But obviously 8 outputs is not enough for what I need. So I would potentially need either an extension on it, which again would mean another unit this sort of size. I just wouldn't have fit it in. So that's why the sort of the GigRig works so well for me, is that obviously the generator's, you know, fairly small footprint, but also when it goes through to then the distributor, that's nice and dinky. Likewise the Time Lords, they're easy, everything's sort of easily tucked away. So even though the other sort of really good quality ones, like say the Pedal Power 2 Plus or the Strymons 1, they're all fairly bulky, so I definitely wouldn't have fit two power sources or power supplies in underneath there. So that's the first reason why I went for the GigRig. The second reason, now what you see on a standard power supply that you get these like cables that run to obviously to power your pedals from the power supply. They've got both ends are like that. If you've used one, you'll know. But what you find is obviously they give you about a 30cm cable, which is fine and dandy. Say your power supply's up this end and you want to power a pedal up this end, then obviously that you can sort of tuck the cable round and plug it in. But when you've say got like a short run, say for example the power supply was here and I just wanted to power the Beano Boost there, now obviously you get a heck of a lot of excess. So, and I'm useless at soldering, so that's the main reason why another reason why I went for the GigRig stuff, because the cables they supply, you can cut them to size. This is the cables that they give you, so a really long length should you need a really long length, but if you don't, you can cut them, and obviously cut them to whatever length that you want. How it works is on the end there, I'll show you if you can see that, try and get it into focus. So on the end there, what you see, you just split the two white and the black side, if you can see the white there, and that's just plain black. Now that corresponds with the outputs on the distributors, and the isolators both use the same cable basically. So all you do once you've cut it to your length, you push it into the portal and then just clip down the two grips basically, and that's it. So it was actually really easy to fit up. So being as where it's sort of positioned, I could sort of tuck the DC cables away from the audio cables as best as I could anyway, and you can get it sort of relatively neat. I mean, it's certainly neat enough for me. I can still obviously access it all. So another reason why I used the GigRig stuff, and probably the main reason, is for its quietness. Now, whether you're familiar with GigRig, it's basically Dan's company from That Pedal Show. Now, I'm a huge fan of the show and I watch pretty much every episode, and you'll know that if you do watch it, you'll know that he set up hundreds of boards for all manners of famous guitarists, like sort of Ed O'Brien, Simon O'Neill, Josh Smith, Rabea. There's loads he's set up boards for, and obviously he uses his own sort of brand of supply to set up their board. So you think, well, okay, it's got to be good if these guys are using it. And now everybody that sets it up, you know, plays through their board for the first time, they all go, wow, I can't believe how quiet it is. And so you think, well, if it's good enough for them, it's got to be good enough for me. But it really is quite amazing how quiet it is. So I thought I'd just give you a little sound bite of using the Vertex pedal there, of just how quiet it is. Hopefully you'll be able to sort of judge it for yourself. Okay, so I'll set that up and I'll show you what I've done. I've got number 4 on, which is the dynamic distortion. Now, when you get into sort of pedals, you'll find some obviously are noisier than others, especially sort of high gain pedals, and also ones with more germanium parts. Now, I love the sound of this pedal, so I really wanted to put it on there. I mean, you can see the gain's fairly well cranked. So when I plug it on, hopefully you'll be able to hear that. It'll pick up on the mic there. So there's a little bit of a buzz, a little bit of a hum, which is fairly sort of the nature of the beast, if you like, with that type of pedal. So I'll switch that off, and then now what I'll do is I'll plug in. So this is just a standard sort of 9-volt adapter. So it's Dunlop. So what I would have, I think comes with most of the MXR pedals. So fairly, reputable brand. So I'll plug this in, and then you hear the difference, hopefully. So we've got that plugged in. I'm just going to turn that off, take out the GigRig supply. And then, so this is the Dunlop one coming in. Now, I'll put that on. Now, what you hear, hopefully you hear the difference. So I'm hoping the mic picks that up. And that's pretty audible. It's like night and day difference to me in the room. But hopefully that sort of shows you just how quiet it is. Yeah, which is the at the end of the day, what you want is nice, quiet as possible pedal board. So just shows you the sort of bit of a experiment to show you how quiet it is. So there you have it. There's a sort of the main reasons to summarise. So it's the footprint that sold it for me. The way the isolators and all the adapters are so tiny, you can sort of position them and sort of tuck them right out of the way, keeping the sort of DC cables or the power cables away from the audio cables. That's a real plus. So you can sort of position it as and where you want to. The fact that it didn't have to solder any cables was a massive plus, especially to then be able to make the cables to the size that you want. So there's no sort of excess cabling everywhere. That was a real plus, and obviously then the quietness of it. So it's not going to be for everybody, but if you're doing like a flat board like this where you can't position the power supply underneath the board, I would really highly recommend this. But even if you have got any pedal board, really, I would recommend this for. So the main things, so you know what units to go for, is really how many pedals you need to power, what milliamps the pedals need, what voltages the pedals need, or what you want to run them at. Any oddball pedals that you're not sure what they need, the best thing to do is go onto the GigRig.com, and they've got an adapter to suit every variant of pedal that you'll need. So that's the best place to start. But anyway, yeah, I mean, I'm happy with it. Yeah, over the moon with it. Yeah, but yeah, I hope that's all made sense. So I hope that was helpful. So it's not going to suit everybody, this power supply, but if you have got more than, say, 10 pedals, then it's definitely something I would consider. I can't recommend it highly enough, to be fair. There's obviously loads of different power supplies out there, so it can be a bit daunting. So if you've only got sort of half a dozen, 8 pedals, then perhaps like the Voodoo Labs Power Plus 2, or the Strymon ones, Chocs ones, or True Tone. There's loads. They're all good. Main thing is that it's isolated. Go with an isolated output power supply. That'd be a must in my books. Avoid the daisy chains, where you got the plug and then it's got several of the little adapter plugs. Avoid those. Now, personally as well, I know some people recommend it, but if you've got a power supply with high milliamp outputs, and then try daisy chaining, so do multiple pedals off the one output. I've tried that before, and I didn't have great results with that myself. So I wouldn't go that route. So either go with two power supplies if you've got more pedals to run. So I just wanted to point out as well, I'm not sponsored by Dan at the GigRig, as no affiliation with them whatsoever. Now, obviously, I love Dan and Mick at the pedal show. I love that show, and I hope you do. But give you another bit of a pointer. If you're looking into pedal supplies, a really good channel to go on is Mason at Vertex Effects. He's a rig doctor. Type that into YouTube and his channel will come up. He's got some really good tutorials and sort of best practices, so that's a really good one to look. I'll put a link to those two channels, and obviously GigRig's website, and for more information as to what you'll need. So yeah, hopefully you've enjoyed that and found it useful in some form. I hope I haven't waffled too much, but yeah, next week I'll go through the patch cables, what we used there, the Boss patch cables. But yeah, hope to see you then. Bye for now.